Hey folks, Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. It is our weekly NFL opening line report. Glad to be with you. Week 7, and we start to recap what went down, look at the opening numbers, the numbers that were up before the games were played, the instant reaction, and where we think the numbers are going to go. That's what we try to do here. It's a fun segment. Glad you're joining us. Let's get after it. Now, don't forget, we're taping this before the Monday night doubleheader, so we'll see how Arizona and Dallas, Buffalo, KC, how those games pan out. But let's go with the numbers that we've got. Thursday night football. The Giants at the Eagles. The Eagles were 6.5. It's down to 6. Give Philly credit. Fighting back against Baltimore, coming up just short. Giants, ugly game. Find a way to win on a defensive touchdown against the Redskins. The total on the game is 45.5. It was 6.5. It's down to 6. I might even see the number come down, the total. Maybe just a touch, maybe a point. Let's go to Detroit at Atlanta. Atlanta was a 1-point favorite before the games were played. Now they're sitting as a firm 3-point favorite. And listen, the total's up there, 56.5. The bottom line is Stafford's got Golladay back, and they get the win against Jacksonville. And all of a sudden, the emergence of Swift now with their offense. And Atlanta can sling it around, and Julio Jones, he went nuts in the win over Minnesota. So two offenses that are singing like a top right now, and that total's understandable. But that instant reaction where this game comes up to 3, I could see maybe some buyback and see some 2.5s at some point during the course of the week. Let's go to Cleveland at Cincinnati. Cleveland, 3.5-point favorite. The total's 51.5. How about Burrow and the Bengals? They lose to Indianapolis. Had the big lead, let it get away. That's got to hurt. But boy, they are competitive. Burrow is the real deal. And the bottom line is, Cleveland just ran into a buzzsaw with Pittsburgh, and Mayfield wasn't 100%. Not making an excuse here. Cleveland just jumped into the deep end of the pool. But don't sleep on Cincinnati here. You may even see this come down to 3 at some point during the week. Maybe a little professional buyback when we're looking at that. But again, a total of 51.5. And it looks like these two offenses can't put points up. Don't forget, it's a division game. Pittsburgh, one of the 3 remaining unbeatens at 5-0. Oh, they just happen to be colliding with one of the other unbeatens, Tennessee. How about this game? Both teams, 5-0. Pittsburgh was a 3-point favorite before the games were played on Sunday with the advanced lines. That number's down to 1. Tennessee wins the shootout over Houston. And put the COVID stuff behind you. Don't forget, this team was a monster at the end of last year. When Henry decides to go and they decide to utilize him, look out, and then play action. Tannehill can go to Brown. And Jonnu Smith, the tight end, is just a monster. What a good football game this is. This is a black and blue, kind of football game. This was one of the reasons I know the Bills weren't doing a cartwheel, that they had to play basically Tennessee off a bye instead of Tennessee after playing a black and blue game with Pittsburgh. But that's the way the schedule is. It impacted a lot of people. The total's 55.5 in this game. Might be a little salty on the total. Yes, both these offenses can produce points. But I think Pittsburgh's defense specifically, and I think this could be more of a defensive struggle, to be honest with you. Let's go to Carolina and New Orleans. New Orleans was a 7-point favorite. It's up to 8. As Carolina comes up short against the Bears. And don't forget, this will be New Orleans coming off a bye. We're at that time of the year, and we'll document the other teams coming off a bye. You're to that point now. Freshness is a little bit of an asset, but I keep thinking it seems like Denver and New England who played, but they prepped to play that game for 2 weeks. When do they get any time off? Mark that one down. Maybe Denver, New England. Teams maybe you look to fade a little bit when we get to the end of the year because they just never got a break. All right, Buffalo 10-point favorite without even playing. Numbers up to 10.5 at the Jets. The Jets are a dog's breakfast. And if Buffalo loses to Kansas City, it's going to be a mad football team coming in there. They played the first game, the opener, and literally Crowder caught like a 6-yard out and 3 on a jailhouse blitz, and he ran 75 yards for a touchdown. The Jets couldn't even get a first down against the Bills in the opener, and that score was not reflected. That game was a blowout, and likely going to be the case here again, even if the Bills do pull off the upset with KC, maybe a bit of a letdown. But again, we're taping this before the Monday night games. Dallas was a 3-point favorite. They remain a 3-point favorite up to minus $1.20, indicating it could go to 3.5 for their game at Washington. It will be interesting to see how Andy Dalton plays in the Monday night game against Arizona. Listen, the guy's a veteran quarterback, gets a full week's worth of practice. It's a different dynamic. He's not mobile like Dak Prescott, but they've got the weapons and they've got the running back. I think Dallas still remains an interesting team. Their problem is they just can't stop anybody. Maybe they get well against Washington, but it is the big rivalry game. Don't forget that. Green Bay was a 3.5-point favorite for the game against Houston. That number comes down to 3. The total's 55.5, and it happens. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but one week to the next, how numbers, hey, just perfect example. Last week, San Francisco was going to be a 3-point favorite against the Rams. San Francisco got taken to the woodshed by Miami. It flipped all the way around to the Rams being a 3-point favorite. What happens? The Niners the next week, they look like a machine. So I think there's overreactions in this era in the NFL from week to week. That's why we're doing this report. The total in the game is 55.5. Houston, great game, but boy, punched to the gut, losing that one in OT to Tennessee. Look for Rodgers to have a bounce-back game. But Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, they could be going up and down the field there. That total could maybe go up a half point. Let's go to Seattle, coming off a bye. 3.5-point favorite at Arizona. Again, waiting to see how Arizona fares against the Cowboys. But Seattle, they get that, if you want to call it a gift-wrapped miracle win against Minnesota, and then get to celebrate and catch their breath and Russell Wilson having an MVP season. Interesting football game. We'll see, and let's monitor the health of Carson, the running back, but I think he'll be back healthy coming off the bye, and Metcalf and the weapons they have. This will be a fun one. Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray running around making plays. KC was a 9-point favorite before the game was played against Denver. It's down to 8.5 because Denver field goaled New England to death. How about that? They walk in there. Locke's got to punch it in the end zone, but they moved up and down the field. Melvin Gordon will probably be back in the lineup. He wasn't available to them in the game against the Patriots. But a nice win for Denver on the road. It comes down a half point. And San Francisco's at New England. Now, New England was 5.5. This number came down to 4. It's going to come down to 3.5, maybe even, I doubt it gets to 3, but San Francisco looked really, really good in their win over the Rams. Kittle with a long touchdown. Garoppolo, one more week under his belt. The high ankle sprain starting to get better. The one thing, when you watch New England play now, I think as you're betting this team throughout the course of the year, halftime wagers could be interesting for you. I think New England's going to be a beast to play in the second half if they're playing with the lead. But if they're trailing, Cam Newton can do a lot of cool things. He runs around, makes plays with his feet. But New England can't stretch the field. I mean, the aerial attack is just not there. You saw it at the end of the Denver game. Newton couldn't take them down the field and punch it in. San Francisco traveling cross country. We'll be monitoring that. Jacksonville at the Chargers. Chargers coming off a bye. The number was 6.5. It's up to 8 because Jacksonville was a no-show. Basically got lit up by Detroit. And the total on the game is 49. Again, we're looking at the Chargers coming off a bye. And the kid, Herbert, starting quarterback, he's got the job. He looks really, really good. It would help if they could get Eckler back in and get themselves a solid running game. Let's go to Tampa and Las Vegas. How about this one? It was pick, but then Tampa Bay puts the Sasquatch foot on Green Bay. This number goes to Tampa Bay -3. Brady coming to Vegas. The total on the game, we're looking at 54. I think that's a pretty good total here. The Raiders look like a different offense. Obviously, when they beat Kansas City with Ruggs in, that helped them stretch the field. They've got the running back, Jacobs, Gruden extra time to prepare. Interesting game. Not an easy spot for Tampa Bay, feeling the ropes. Big high-profile game at home. Letdown spot, potentially, for Tampa Bay. That's Sunday Night Football. Then Monday Night Football, the Bears are 5-1 at the Rams. The Rams were -7. This number is going to come down below that. I got to tell you, you watch these football games, and I'm going to pick on McVay. They all do it. First of all, throw the 2-point card away. These guys have no clue how to do the math. I don't understand it. But I'm telling you, so many of these coaches are repeat offenders, and McVay is one of the worst. He just throws timeouts away throughout the course of the game. You know, back at the end of the game against the Niners, all of a sudden they come back from the grave, and he's got no timeouts that he wasted in the third quarter. But the Rams were disjointed. Cooper Kupp dropped a touchdown. Then Goff threw a pick. Goff was out of sync. Their running back Henderson looked really good. But I think this is a Rams team might have a stone in their shoe the way they played in that game against the Niners. And listen, Nick Foles, it ain't pretty, but this is a gritty team. They find ways to win. I think this could be kind of a defensive battle here. But this Bears team, whatever it takes, they seem to find a way. Fun for the fans in Chicago. The Bears are at 5-1. The Rams are looking to rebound. And again, we're into bye weeks. Teams off this week. Indy, Miami, Minnesota needs the break, and Baltimore. Those are the teams with the bye week. And let's see if we get one more week. We got all the games in, day by day, week by week. You see any players test positive. Never easy. We're just adapting as we go. But let's see if the NFL keeps it on tap for week 7. And we're looking forward to a fun week. And don't forget, sometimes it's not who you bet, it's when you bet them. That's why we do the NFL opening line report right here at VegasInsider.com.